Well, I'm not sure they're not too far apart.
Oh, no, but I think she's. I talked to her yesterday. I know you yes, and said I do too. I've been looking at that don't come from asking Jared.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And you know, and she told me the same thing. I following up that one. Nice.
See what?
She told me the same thing.
Yeah.
She told you I investigated. Nice.
Which I thought was hilarious, actually, but very smart.
Yes.
Well, it's good that we got passing grades.
Yes. Well, I don't think it's just passing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There.
Well, I got a version of it.
Very good.
Hold on.
Others are. See that.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. I'm going to WEA's gig tonight. Oh, good.
Yeah. I'm in the video.
Oh, you can go to the chamber.
I know you're thinking crazy.
Oh,
It's, I can't.
yeah. No, I get that.
And it's like I said.
Did you have my car towed over there?
Yes.
Hey,
Fellow commissioners are coming.
but anyway, I'm gonna go to them.
The mic picks you up perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
I heard you in the hallway.
Did you hear what Pam was saying to me?
No, I only heard
Good.
your voice.
Because yeah, you don't want that.
She was giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
Maybe. Could be.
Not recording.
But they,
You have an
A
auxiliary.
little sister.
they,
Work
they
sister.
passed away, so Sam thought I needed another one.
Yeah. You guys are.
Yeah, looks like it.
Thanks, Chair Harrington. You're welcome. We were lined up parking lot attendant.
A woman of many talents.
If you'd have got there about 5 minutes earlier, you wouldn't even have been in the driveway. Because
Oh.
they had the leaf truck.
Yeah. The two action items were updated simply with regard to references to Aloha. So you don't need to be startled about that since the update happened in the afternoon yesterday. Our business meeting, which will follow, has one proclamation, a couple of boards and commissions items, and two different public hearings. The public hearings are dealing with clean water services, exemption from competitive bidding for the Forest Grove Primary Treatment Project. And then the second one is with regard to the Bull Mountain Community Plan and so forth with regard to the River Terrace 2.0 urban growth boundary expansion area. We have gotten a couple of different constituent emails on that. So I'm assuming that we'll have a staff presentation with that. And then we have a loan agreement defeasance. But beyond that, does anyone have any questions or concerns with regard to those two business meetings? Okay, all righty then. So we'll start off with board communication, and who would like to go first?
Good morning. I'm going to be talking about last week and then future, the upcoming issues. I'll start with last night.
We had an acre meeting last night. The chair and I were there, as well as Tanya and Danny and Brad and Amanda. It was the regular crowd. It was Maida's first meeting. I think it went very well. Thank you, Brad, for walking us through the proposed bylaws and getting consensus on the proposal that will come to the board for approval. And the other person I want to thank is Danny for her presentation on the strategic plan work along with Tanya. It was really good. And I believe that the ACRE participants felt engaged in the process and will be working with us as we go forward on the strategic plan work. So last week was MPAC. I had an MPAC meeting last week, and I have an upcoming MPAC meeting this week. That's because of the holiday schedule. Last week, we did approve the RTP and as our recommend approval for the for Metro Council. There were several amendments that came from the Clackamas County group. I'll say not just commissioners in Clackamas County, but the Clackamas County group and some of our southern mayors about taking the 400 million and splitting that up from just approving initially the P&E or the project engineering piece. And I did not vote for that. I didn't have all the input, but I did have Diami there to help a bit along the way. The one amendment from Clackamas that I did vote for was there was a long piece about the safety aspects that were provided by tolling that I don't think were substantiated. And frankly, the Metro staff asked for that information and they kind of dropped it into the RTP. I voted along with Clackamas to take that out or to reduce the commentary, so to speak, on safety aspects. The good news is the RTP did move forward. I think that there's going to be a lot of discussion at MTAC and JPAC about the amendments that were put forward by MPAC, but there is no ODOT person on MPAC. There is an ODOT person on JPAC, so that discussion will happen at the correct place in my view. But the messages were sent loud and clear. This week, the MPAC meeting is going to focus on the UGR work and also the look at freight movement within the region as well. So those are the two topics. We had our meeting yesterday with the Washington County MPAC folks, and I'm really enjoying those. It gives me an opportunity to talk with Hillsborough. It gives me an opportunity to talk with Tim Rosner from Sherwood, and they're really good discussions. And I think we all appreciate the opportunity to talk about what's coming up. So that's good. I also have a meeting this coming week with Alex Howard. She's a new representative to MPAC from the Port of Portland. I'm meeting with Diane Wall. Diane Wall is leading the OEICE replacement or Chief Executive Officer replacement process. I think you're involved in that as well. I attended I'm going backwards now. I did attend the Friday wall breaking. It wasn't groundbreaking, it was wall breaking. And I'll let Chair Harrington talk about that. But you did a great job in your presentation there. Thank you for that. And thank you for really focusing on the collaboration when it comes to our approach to our homeless issue and to affordable housing as a whole. So that was great. Sad news about Dick Stenson. Dick is a member of Dick died. Oh, very sad news. He's a member of the Public Health Advisory Committee. I did send a note to Marnie. I've worked on and off with Dick over the years and just a great advocate for our community here in Washington County. It was very sad. So I'm going to be sending a card to the family and probably attending those services. I think Jerry will say the same. The question I have for everybody here is about alongside, if you're going to be going to that. So I just want to make sure that's covered. That Thursday? Wait.
It's Thursday.
Yeah, are you going to be going?
I wanted to, this is right next to my office, but I've been asked to go with Ryan Windcheimer to OTC.
Okay.
And that's exactly the same time.
Okay.
If you need somebody, I will attend as well. It's outside of my district. I mean, not that that matters. But
No,
yeah, I'm
every affordable housing project.
I'll be
in
there.
Washington County is important.
And lastly, I want to thank Stephen Roberts for attending the West Side Multimodal and along with Aaron Wardell. That was going on during the time that we were in our strategy session. The quick summary is that they reviewed the 4 improvement scenario packages and each scenario builds upon each other. So the last one to be reviewed was the tolling scenario, and talking with Stephen, that's the one that actually moves the needle in relationship to congestion, but obviously it has its issues as well. So the consensus was to advance the following concepts for further study: tolling, the northern connector, North Willamette Bridge to port terminals and PDX. There's obviously several people have concerns about that, and others would like to see it because they feel that if you don't advance this for further study, there would be significant concern given ongoing urgent freight movement challenges in the region. So that debate will come to the forefront here. The Max Tunnel through downtown Portland for further study, more transit service improvements, complete streets on parallel routes, obviously in looking at diversion issues, and the 26-405 interchange and ramp modifications. So those are all recommended for future study. Thank you again for participating. So, and if you have any questions, I'm sure Stephen and Aaron would be happy to answer those. That's my report. A little long, apologize.
Who's next?
I'll go next. It looks like, are you still working on yours, Nafisa?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, you get to do all the fun stuff. Sounds to me like all I get to do is count trees. Because that's where I spend a great deal of my time working with the Forest Trust lands.
I thought you were doing something on Salmonberry Trail and
Yeah.
planting trees.
Yeah, we're doing that too, the Salmonberry Trail. Just, to mention that, we have started pulling rail on the Salmonberry Trail from Banks out to Manning. So that's pretty exciting. I'm gonna try and swing by there and see how that process looks. But anyway, yep, we've started doing that on the Salmonberry Trail. But no, I was talking more about last Friday I was in Salem for the Forest Trust Lands meeting, and then right after that, the governor's convening of the trust land counties to talk about the habitat conservation plan. So we continue to work on that. We're actually making some progress, I think, and I believe another communication will be coming out to all of the counties and the commission sometime in the next week or two. That'll probably again come from the governor's office. So, yeah, doing that. Had the roundtable, of course, last week, and that was a good conversation on the strategic plan. So yeah, we covered a lot of ground there. I am going to, well, we're interviewing candidates. We had 7 candidates for the PSCC commission position, I guess, and we have 3 vacancies. And so we interviewed all of them, and we'll be coming to, well, PCC will then have to put their blessing on it and bring it to this board. So we got a few weeks before that's going to happen. The WEA event tonight, Pam is going. I'm going to be going there. Judy's going to go with me because she wants to stay connected to the WEA as well. So it's their 25th anniversary. So it'll be a good event tonight. And then tomorrow night going to the Portland Metro Chamber event. That is their leadership event. So they're going to be recognizing several people as well. Had a fair board meeting last week, and we're kind of in between wrapping up the fair from 23 and looking ahead to 24. And then we're going to reposition the financials to be on a calendar year basis. So we get a good snapshot of what the fair costs us and some of the revenues that it generates. So that'll be we probably won't have that till probably January, February. So I'll certainly make sure that you have that available to you when that's available. So next week will be my last week for this month. I work Monday and Tuesday, and then I'm quitting. So,
No, you're going on vacation. You are coming back
Careful when you say that.
for our busy December, but you deserve a break. We all deserve those
thank you.
occasionally
Yeah.
from time to time.
So I will be leaving Tuesday night and so, yeah, and then we'll be back on the 30th. The sheriff's retirement party is on the 30th as well. And so,
Yeah, I'll be going to the first hour of that and then I have another event or meeting.
yeah. So, I will be missing that unless I decide to come back a day early, which I may. So anyway, that's all I got.
Just one quick thing. We've got AOC coming up. I'm going to be attending by telephone.
I'm
But I-
attending in person.
But I want to make sure that all of you have got that on your calendar for voting purposes, that this meeting.
Well, Jerry's on vacation.
And I've given Catherine my proxy for the Council of Forest Trust Lands meeting because we are appointing a new chair and vice chair.
Yeah.
So she has my proxy to do that. If you need me to log in for the annual meeting, you just need to let me know. I can do that.
I'll text you.
Okay.
Thank you. I just wanted to get that on
Mhm.
everybody's radar.
Who's next?
I can go next. Good morning, everyone. Commissioner Willie, I can take that vacation for you if you, Yeah.
You want to do that, huh?
you have that option.
Okay, well, I can give you the dog.
The-
The dog that gets to go on vacation.
No, thank you.
Okay.
I'll start with my experience visiting the White House to discuss the Biden-Harris administrations and their significant investment in our great state of Oregon. I was invited to attend Communities in Action, Building a Better Washington and Oregon, which is a White House series that featured local elected officials and community leaders from both of our states that are working on their communities to create opportunities and improve people's lives. We were a total of about 65 people from both states. We've heard from the Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, and as well as John Podesta, the Senior Advisor to the President for Clean Energy and Innovation and Implementation. We've also heard from the Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Director of the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, as well as the Deputy of Homeland Security and the Council on Environmental Quality Chair, Brenda Mallory, who had extensive information and knowledge about Oregon as well as a little bit as well as Washington, but more so Oregon, and as well as many other senior White House staff. One of the things that we walked away and it was really nice to recognize was Oregon is already a leader in renewable energy, and the administration's commitment to advancing clean water energy and environmental conservation was particularly exciting to hear. We discussed plans for increased support for wind and solar energy, as well as steps to mitigate the impact of climate change, which is a growing concern for our state. I walked away from that trip and left I filled with hope and optimism for the future of our state as we embark on a journey of growth and progress with the support of the Biden-Harris administration. I want to extend my gratitude and thanks to Brenda, Tanya, and the staff for the talking points that were provided to me. Since I have more time, I'll pivot to talk about some other meetings I had as well over there. I was able to connect with our Congresswoman District 1, Bonamici. We talked a lot about transportation. The pitch was made that transportation funding is really needed and called out specific projects that we're interested in invested in Washington County. And then one of the things that the Congresswoman had really robust discussion with me and with her staff was some bills that she's working on, the recovery housing bill, which is a bipartisan bill to increase access to recovery housing for individuals in recovery from a substance use disorder or mental health crisis. And that conversation pivoted to the CAT and the work we're doing, and the invitation was extended to the Congresswoman to invite and to visit that and tour with Chair Harrington. So that invitation was extended and she would love to do that. That's
It'll be more exciting when the construction is under more fruition.
Yeah, maybe you can time that tour at that time. And then we talked about some really exciting, another exciting bill she's doing with it that is unknown. It's a problem that exists in Oregon that everybody keeps talking about, and it's impacting everyone, including children. The fentanyl problem. So the congresswoman talked about how she has another sort of bipartisan bill, FACT Act it's called, but it stands for Fentanyl Awareness for Children and Teens in Schools. And the idea is actually, surprise, surprise, Oregon is being replicated. Uh, um, the local education program, especially the one that exists in the Beaverton School District. My kids go there, so I'm really excited that Beaverton School District is being recognized at the federal level and being presented as a model and something that to replicate for the nationwide. And then the idea is to prevent accidental fentanyl poisoning and increase federal and it's also to introduce a federal interagency task force. And yeah, so this is inspired by the Beaverton School District Fake and Fatal program. That's the program's name, Fake and Fatal. And it's nationally well recognized. And then lastly, quickly, I'll pivot because I think it's a really great meeting that I had with our county auditor. And I learned all the great work that they're working on. And I wanted to highlight some of the things that are coming to our board. The auditor is planning to give us an annual report to the board. They're working on financial policy audit report that's coming to us. They're also doing the MISTIP risk assessment audit report that will be coming to us. They're also doing the ARPA money for workforce development audit report, which sits on at Cargie's shop. And then finally, that department or that department. It's department to say the audit office is the department. Okay. Department. I almost said the office because I'm used to saying the sheriff's office, but the department.
The department.
It was just good. Oh, and then they implemented software implementation rollout they're doing. So they're really busy, and I just wanted to highlight that because I it's like wow, that's a lot of report coming to us. And with that, I turn it back to you.
Commissioner Rogers.
I'll make mine fairly short. First of all, thank you, whoever's attending the alongside grand opening. I'm very disappointed since we were there at the very beginning, but I was asked if I would attend a couple of events, one or three events. One I couldn't do the long day, but I'm having dinner with the OTC on Wednesday night, which is tomorrow night, and then I'm presenting along with Ryan Wincheimer on some activities at exactly the same time on Thursday. So if both of you can attend, please pass on my condolences. I'm really sorry I'm able to make it. Some WEA events this week, various committees, and then and then I have Michelle Rios. Probably all of you probably have had that, the rescheduling and all of that. The one thing I would say, and Pam, I'm glad that you're hearing from the southeast quadrant and Clackamas County. This is a very hot issue in my neck of the woods and continues to fester. So people, we can all respectfully disagree, but if we're heard, we don't have much cause for a lot of protest. I mean, we've been heard, and so I'm glad that they're discussing it. So that's good. With that, I'll turn it over to the chair.
Great. Thank you for your work with the Region 1 Act, but also engaging with the OTC. As there's been discussion about the possibility of a 2015 transportation funding bill and the fact that ODOT is suffering from a lack of funding for operations and maintenance. 2025.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's okay.
Thank you for catching me.
I didn't know.
I know, I'm in denial. It's November and
I know.
I really don't want the passage of time to keep advancing. But nonetheless, 2025. I remember the construct for House Bill 2017 in 2017. But before then, back in the 05, 06, 07 timeframe, as new transportation bills were advanced, the construct for operations and maintenance with ODOT changed then too, because I had some quite informative conversations with then LUT Director Kathy Latola
Oh, yeah.
and her deputy, who's
Kathy says. what?
yes, whose full name I don't remember. Sorry, because I'm bad with names. But this is a persistent problem and it affects every county. It's statewide. And so I think we owe it to ourselves, but also to elsewhere in the state to bring attention to the fact that we can't just have capital dollars alone, that ODOT has to be able to operate as an organization and maintain these roads and do the proper transfer of orphaned highways as well. So thank you for dedicating that time. Going back to last week, it is a very busy time. Commissioner Treese mentioned the opening of the first year-round permanent shelter here in Washington County for adults only, whether individuals or couples. It was the wall breaking of the Beaverton shelter. I forwarded the media release to all of us. That shelter involves SHS funding, but the acquisition of that building by Beaverton and the money to do the remodel retrofit involved a combination of federal funds through Congresswoman Bonamici, state funds through the legislature, as well as these local funds, and the city of Beaverton dedicated ARPA dollars towards all of the acquisition and construction as well. So the funding puzzles continue. I also want to lift up that there was a housing forum in the morning, the annual housing summit that we were all invited to. Unfortunately, this year, so much was going on. I was the only board member there. I felt it. Sorry. But we had two great speakers, Senator Casey Jama, who is a leader with regard to housing in the Senate, and an author named Hanif Fazal, who he's the co-founder of the Center for Equity and Inclusion. He has Washington County roots. He, growing up as a kid, he lived in Tigard, went to elementary school in Tigard, went to Beaverton High School, then moved into an affordable housing. So he has lived experience with regard to homelessness, affordable housing, poverty. And anyway, he was very insightful. He's written this book, and it particularly talks, it's a bit of a shot in the arm for people of color. And you're our only person of color on this board currently. And so I thought I would pass the book on to you first. I will be reading it as well, but I know with your lived experience and being a leader, there's a lot that falls on your shoulders that I don't experience. So I wanted to share some of that positive energy from him. So
Dear Harrington, you're giving me a homework.
you don't have to read it. If you want me to read it first, I'm happy to. But another thing that we have coming up is this is the second annual report from our supportive housing services program here at Washington County. This will be presented to us, I believe, next Tuesday. So it's got great material in it, and I meant to highlight something at Acre last night to bring voice to the fact that this year's equity analysis work found that our programs are generally serving higher rates of Black, Indigenous, and Latina households than are represented in the general population. Yay. And then it expands a little bit more. But a significant finding of the data demonstrates that Asian American and Pacific Islander households experience higher rates of poverty in Washington County than the rate of households seeking our housing services. So we have a little bit of work to do there. And as such, our Homeless Services Division has set a goal to better understand this disparity by reaching out to community organizations, which made me think of Susafina, who's on our ACRE committee. So that might be a source of information, Molly. But similar to that, there are great milestones, great results that we have from this second year. And I'm not going to steal staff's thunder from that presentation that's coming up. But I do want to uplift that the Family Promise of Tualatin Valley has successfully purchased a new shelter building, and they've ramped up the opening. And I would like to have a tour, and if possible, if we could coordinate that for all commissioners sometime in the near future. But also, we have several affordable housing projects that I believe at least 5 that have opened thus far from the Affordable Housing Bond. We have several that are under construction for completion between now and the end of 2025. And so it would be very helpful if we could get an updated list on that with target dates for the grand opening, because we couldn't have done this work without the Affordable Housing Bond. So it'll help us to plan time on our calendar for that. And as mentioned, the alongside grand opening is coming up, and I can't believe we're in the first full week of November. We have another week, and then it's the week of Thanksgiving. Luckily, we have a full week after Thanksgiving, but we are on the march to the end of the year, and I just can't believe it. So
Can I throw a couple of things in there?
Yes.
Not to add to
It's
the
okay.
sadness, but Dave Milichek, who's the director of Parks and Rec at Hillsborough, also
Oh,
died
yeah.
last week. And so we had 2 of our leaders pass away, and so that's pretty sad. So we need to be giving condolences, certainly to the city of Hillsborough Parks and Rec folks. And then also, I've neglected to say I will be in Astoria all day Thursday for COPAC and Northwest Act. And then lastly is to ask you, when do you want to have the conversation about the North Plains UGB conversation?
I was going to turn to you next because I wrote a note down here.
Yeah.
Great minds.
Right now.
So, Mr. Anderson, we need a little help. So, ordinarily, we had the North Plains UGB expansion request and topic on our rolling agenda to come to us the end of November. And I'm assuming it's gone through the Planning Commission or is in the final throes of that.
In the process.
It's in the process. Okay. And I remember asking our team when that topic came to work session to give us information about on what basis we need to review that city's UGB expansion request. And Aaron Wardell said that they would make sure to include that in the staff report that is part of that package. Well, now as I understand it, an initiative was circulated, and I don't know if it's been certified in our elections office yet. It has been. So I understand that initiative has been filed with regard to this UGB. I haven't looked to see what that initiative says. So here's my quandary. No matter how that initiative works out, the city's still going to have to do some work to satisfy state law for UGB expansion. And so the city has done a tremendous amount of work in planning that. we still have our role to evaluate that based upon some set criteria or factors from the state that I stand to learn more. So I am wondering, shouldn't we just go full steam ahead with that evaluation? And then the actual, and there's a process if it comes through us and then it goes to the state. And I don't know how long the state's going to take. So irrespective, the initiative is one process. That's a new one. And this UGB expansion process is a new one. So if the initiative passes, well, then there's an inflection point that needs to be dealt with in the future. But I don't quite understand why the initiative should keep us from moving full steam ahead.
So there was a hot sheet item prepared on this for your board last Friday. I will just give you kind of the big highlights. That the issue is this doesn't really happen where a UGB expansion is referred to the voters, and
So does that mean it's somewhat new territory?
we're in new territory.
Okay,
And traditionally, so you usually see UGB expansions that are in the metro boundary,
Yep.
and so there's a very particular process for how those
Yeah.
go down, and it's different when you're outside the metro boundary. And when Rob did his analysis in our office, he was looking at it as a step-by-step process, and the first step is, the city has to do their work. The
Right.
second step is the county, and the third step is the LCD.
right.
The challenge we're looking at right now is what happens if the ordinance that was passed by North Plains, is referred to the voters and the voters reject it. Then it's like, well, did we do our step, in vain type of thing? So that's really the challenge here. The board could
But to
proceed
me, that's a policy question because the state, so we do our work, the state LCDC still has to review it and their role is to affirm it or not. Right?
right.
And so are you suggesting that from your office, you would prefer that, and Ms. Angie's office, that you would prefer that we held off on this to save staff time?
Well, there's a staff time component, and then there's also, does that give the opponents, clearly there are opponents to this UGB expansion, a different basis to appeal this case? I don't really want to talk about that in an open session.
Right, so
we'll
then,
get back to you on that.
So my concern is that this is a community that is in Commissioner Willie's district and my district, right? Because I'm the whole.
Yes.
And I would prefer if we have a conversation about this, that we do so before he's away on vacation.
Right.
And so that's why he and I talked about yesterday about having questions of this nature. And so are there provisions for us to have an executive session given the potential for lawsuits and so forth?
We can look at that.
If it's not executive session material, then we need to have the opportunity to have an open conversation about this.
Staff will work on getting this scheduled, whether it's in an open session or executive session. I think what would be helpful from your board is to lift up any questions that you have in this process so that we can do that analysis of where these questions best fit. County Council will do the analysis on if it fits in executive session.
Yes.
So I can rattle off a couple. There was the information need that I talked about when we had the work session a couple weeks ago. What is the basis by which the board needs to evaluate this? And a similar but different question is, there's the evaluation criteria. what, if any, basis clearly do we have to accept it and or to reject it? Right, because I want clarity in all three of those cases. Then I do remember at some point the city had voter approved annexation, which went along with their UGB expansions. And I don't recall in what time frame that changed. And so in my mind, it seems to me that the initiative process is being used as sort of a way to replace that. And I don't know if a initiative has been done on a city UGB expansion elsewhere in the state outside of the metro area. It's also my understanding that process-wise, without this initiative, that the process would be city, county, state at LCDC, then the I can't remember, I don't recall if the next step would be LUBA and then Court of Appeals, or if I got that part right, after LCDC.
Right.
And then the last question I have is, what legal risk do we have in either in the choice of just going full steam ahead, irrespective of this being on what, the May 2024 ballot, versus pausing until after the results of the election?
Yeah, thank you very much for outlining that much better than I was going to do that. I think just from my standpoint, again, I feel like this is the tail wagging the dog. The city's put in years of work on this, spent a lot of money and staff time on it. And I think we should give them every opportunity to continue to move and not lose another 6, 8, 10 months in the process. So thank you for outlining that very well. And I'm in agreement with that. So I look forward to the meeting.
He's got more certainty than I do. I'm just able to articulate questions and information needs I have.
And personally, what I'd like is information about, and you outlined it, but I want to underscore the IP process in relationship to how this is going to work. You know, what takes precedent? How does this fall? And maybe we don't have answers, but I want to know that. So that's
a really good question. This is an initiative petition for an action or rejection before it's happened between the city. I think the city just did their final adoption last night, but potentially before the county. Do they equally have the opportunity for an initiative after the state, right? How many times can it be revisited? I'm just not that in the know on initiative petitions.
So just for clarification, it's a referral to the voters. So if you remember how we had the
Yes.
Flavored ban that was referred to the voters. So basically what is before the voters is, do you agree or disagree with this ordinance that North Plains passed? And if they say no, then the ordinance is rejected, and then it gets really challenging on what you can do at that point. But
that's the part that I'm wondering about, right? Okay, so people say they reject it, but North Plains still had to follow certain state criteria. So that's...
Well, not only that, when they changed the voter approved annexation process, specifically North Plains was impacted by that to basically the city can annex after they do their homework. This completely violates that. And it also violates what the governor's asking for housing. So I think legislature is probably going to get engaged in this process at some point in time, because they're going to have to tweak the law that they did on annexations.
And just for clarification, in this referral process, it's only the residents of the city of
North Plains.
Correct.
Plains that can vote on this.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
But it's not, just for clarification, you're gonna get a letter from North Plains that'll explain all this. I'll just stop there, but that'll probably be in your inbox today.
Okay.
Question I have, Brad, as you're doing some analysis of this work, define this board's role, because as I understand it, it's simply either approve or disapprove the land use issues that they brought to us. We don't have authority to deal with their ordinances. We don't have authority to say that we don't agree with initiative petition process. We don't have anything. We have a very narrow scope of work, I believe. But if I'm wrong, you need to tell us that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I asked for it when we had
Yeah.
that work session a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we'll come back to you on that, the whole process, because, like you said, this happens elsewhere in the state and it is pretty common. It's just, we haven't dealt with this before with a UGB expansion outside of the metro boundaries. So we'll come back to you with that.
So we may be impacting the agenda for next week's work session in order to have the time for this.
Well, November and December, I call it the shuffle. So we're
Yeah.
always moving things around. But we will accommodate.
Okay, so sorry to take a little bit of time away from leadership communication. We don't want to shortchange it. Can we jump to clean water services first?
Thank you very much, Chair Harrington, members of Clean Water Services Board. I'm here today. Diane's out sick, so I just want to cover that a little bit. Two reports that I have is one last week, it's volunteers reporting a die-off of geese out at Fern Hill Wetlands. Which you may recall, we saw a similar situation last year. The deaths were reported at ODFW, transports of the carcasses to them for necropsy. All signs point to avian influenza, which is similar to what we've had out there before and what we saw in the upper Willamette Valley late last year. Signs have been posted to the site, and we've got staff out there that's picking up and collecting those dead birds starting last Saturday. As always, the public's cautioned to not go near any birds, whether they're sick or not. So the other thing is, as you may have noticed, in the middle of the night, the pounding rain, or during the day, it's been raining very, 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 very hard. We have not had any call outs after hours or over the weekend. A couple of things that I think drive that. One is the ground is not fully saturated yet. The calls that we are getting are typically related to leaves covering catch basins. So these are things that the public can safely do it. They help with those pieces too. It also speaks to the reason that we have our leaf drop off program, to try to get those leaves off the street to prevent those pieces. The other thing is we do have something called storm patrol prior to these large storms. We have crews that go to known sites to make sure catch basins are open, drains are open, culverts are open, pieces like that to help try to mitigate anything that happens. Deeper in the year, when the ground does get saturated, things like this may cause more problems than currently. That's all I have to report.
Well, we need to get ready for the wet winter, cold winter, exciting winter. So thank you. Ms. Angie, do we want to try and squeeze something in or just come back to it later?
I would suggest we come back to it so staff have time to transition to the housing authority.
You okay with that too?
One quick thing.
Okay.
So we've had a law fellow not virtually in our office since August, and he has it's funded by the CDC, and so Raja Honda has been working from outside the Sacramento area for us, doing a number of projects, including looking at our public health nuisance, which we know needs an update, and kind of doing a survey of what other jurisdictions are doing so we can build a better mousetrap. Additionally, he is doing it he's doing some substantial amount of research on medical examiner programs across the country. We know that Oregon's program is not working. And so looking to see other different models. He's been working with soccer on that project. So been real helpful. And Raja came
Oh,
to visit with
wonderful.
us.
You're in your
And
room.
so yeah, I'm introduced. Yeah, please come up. So Raja is visiting us this week, and we're really glad to have him. He was in yesterday. Commissioner Fire met with him yesterday. And so we wanted to bring in Raja, introduce him, and then have him say a few words to you.
Terrific. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Hi, nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me. As Brad said, my name is Raja. I'm a CDC Public Health Law Fellow, a field fellow. So I've been working under Brad remotely from the Sacramento area. This is my first time in Oregon, and it's I've been here since yesterday, and I've met a lot of people, including Commissioner Fye. Everybody's been great. This building, everybody here has been very friendly. And I graduated from law school in May from UC Law SF. I concentrated in health law, so I have some background in public health. My goal is to be a attorney that uses public health law to work in local government in the Sacramento area. I've had an interest in policy, which is why I joined this fellowship. Yeah, and I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to the rest of today and tomorrow.
Well, related to that, I know you spoke, Brad, to two specific areas, but I just want to uplift the entire project that I don't know enough about yet because it's underway, public health modernization. And we recently, last month, October, I think, got a memo from staff about our climate adaptation program as part of the public health plan work that's going on. So that might be something to look at as well, specific to how our organization needs to satisfy Oregon requirements for our public health plan. But I'm really honored that we have our public health team and is one of the leading counties in Oregon, working with the Oregon Health Authority to improve our public health domain. So, and we've certainly learned a lot through the pandemic as well, in addition to all the work that they have been doing, continue to do with regard to HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, measles, and other needs here in our community. So good. We need more policy-minded legal beagles. So
Well, welcome to Oregon too. I'm glad that
Yes.
we could introduce you to our rain.
Yeah.
So there, it'll be here for about 6 months.
You may want to take some back to Sacramento.
Always disappointed.
yeah. So, but hopefully you can also enjoy some of our local flavor here in Oregon. So
How long are you here for?
Until tomorrow.
Well, welcome.
great. Yeah. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And in addition, he's been working with Marie Bowman Davis and a whole bunch of staff on
Yeah.
these other projects. So he's been really integrated.
But it's wonderful you're getting to meet them in person versus over Zoom or on phone. So that's great. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, we're going to pause there and transition over to the auditorium for our two business meetings. And then we will reconvene our work session at 1 o'clock, where we'll have Ms. Angie's leadership communication, and then we'll go right into the topic on public health. So perhaps we'll see you again there. And then another item with regard to transportation policy. Great. See you later, folks.
Oh, yeah, that's right.